Recently, Starfield has been in the news again. To no one's surprise, it wasn't good. Will Shen and Daryl Bringer spoke at GDC about their time working on Starfield and what happened during development. This is your spoiler alert warning for the video, though by now it shouldn't matter. I am going to focus on the interview first and then give my thoughts at the end. The main quest's ending happens on Masada 3. When you first enter orbit, you will have to fight some ships, and then when you land, you will end up fighting through many enemies, both on the surface and underground. This will culminate in the final battle that will see you shifting from one location to another while fighting one or both of the Starborn you have been dealing with since they made themselves known to you. Will Shen stated that this story was made very last minute and only came together out of necessity and urgency. Shen is now the lead content designer for Something Wicked Games, and Bringer is the world director for Soft Rains. During the talk, both of them spoke about some memorable quests from Skyrim and Fallout 4, like House of Horrors and The Last Voyage of the USS Constitution. Near the end of the discussion, they spoke about the final quest for Starfield, specifically what it was lacking. Shen said, "We were finally at a state in the project where we could play through the whole game, and it became very clear that we were missing the large final location that was going to tie the story together and have a satisfying action-filled payoff. I was both implementing the main quest and leading the quest design team, so I had absolutely no time. The entire quest design team was already overbooked." Shen continued, "Part of the issue was the sheer size of the team working on Starfield. Skyrim's development team was around 100 people, which made collaboration between different departments easier. That team size grew to about 150 for Fallout 4, then over 350 for Fallout 76, and 500 plus for Starfield. That's not just Bethesda Game Studios, but outside developers like Machine Games, Nobody Studios, Arcane, Snowed In, and The Forge Interactive." Both Shen and Bringer said the sheer number of people working on the game across all the different studios caused problems. Bringer said it's more difficult than ever to know who does what, who you're supposed to report to. Shen added, "A fractured team can also create a silo effect, where every department is scrambling for resources and saying no to collaboration requests. This can lead to the inadvertent consequence of favoring the department over the needs of the game, as well as slowing even the basic collaboration between departments to a crawl." Shen continued, "Every request now has to go through all the producers because we needed to check all of the contingent work. Asking for something as simple as a chair wasn't so simple. Do you need animations for it? Do you need sound effects for it? How much does it add to the schedule, and can it not fit because one of the teams does not have the time?" When it became clear that Starfield's main quest was missing that big final set piece and there wasn't enough time to create one, Shen turned to senior level designer Steve Cornett. Shen said he was definitely our panic button. Cornett had the idea for dimension hopping, which would let the player revisit several key locations from earlier in the game, and more importantly, save the time for crafting entirely new locations for the final battle. Shen continued, "When facing approaching deadlines, desperation can break departments out of their silos and get them collaborating again, but it shouldn't work that way. You don't need to wait for an emergency in order to do this. Clear, consistent, project-level goals and communication will keep everyone focused on what they need to focus on." Shen said, "As for the final quest itself, when I played it for the first time, I didn't come away with the feeling that it had been a last-minute scramble, though there were a few things about it I didn't like. The mercs you fight on the surface feel a little out of place when there are already so many Starborn duplicates running around, and to then immediately battle more Starborn, this time with robots, feels repetitive." Shen continued, "The dimension hopping was fun, but the final battle against duplicate Constellation members probably would have been enough without the earlier two skirmishes. I also appreciate that you can talk your way out of fighting the final Starborn. Not only is it a traditional Bethesda solution, but by that point I was thrilled to stop shooting and get to the end. Now that the interview portion is done, I want to break this down for a bit. First, Shen said that they had everything in the game being playable with the exception of the ending of the main quest. Presumably, this is very near release. If that is the case, and based on how I feel about the main quest I think it is, then this means that they really had no idea on how to end the game. Second, and this is the most important part, it is clear that Bethesda does not know how to manage their teams properly. Bethesda is used to operating a certain way, but that only works when the team size is smaller. This plays right into what I've been saying about Bethesda for some time now. Realistically, they should have just used 100 or 200 developers to make Starfield and split the rest up to work on other games like developing The Elder Scrolls and Fallout 76. The fact that they had to resort to using cheap tricks by reusing assets that were already built in order to make the ending of the main quest speaks volumes to the lack of resource management at Bethesda. We have seen Todd Howard say many times that he wishes they could do more to get games out quicker. Well, if I were in charge, I would start by cutting down the team size for an active development. Starfield was very ambitious, but it suffered from having too many hands in the cookie jar. The same thing happened to Fallout 76, and they had far less in terms of manpower. Look, Skyrim was made by around 100 developers, and it has stood the test of time. So why can't Bethesda just see this and say, you know what, we have been throwing bodies into the mix, and the quality has gone down while development time has increased. I can't for the life of me understand how they don't see this. Maybe it's ego. Maybe it's management having blinders on and ignoring the problems that are plain to see. I don't know. What I do know is that top talent have been leaving to join smaller teams, and what remains at Bethesda is not better for it. I'm glad Will Shen finally spoke about this because it was clear that he left for good reason, not because he was looking for a new challenge. If other developers that have left were to speak up, I am sure they would be telling similar stories. What are your thoughts? Would you like to hear more from former staff? Sound off in the comments below. While you're at it, like, subscribe, and share. And as always, I'm just glad you stopped by, and I'll see you in the next one.